2024 meeting of Jefferson City Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Neil Vaughn.
Is the microphones on?
It's not red.
It's not red.
Shall I restart?
Yeah.
Okay. This is the May 9th, 2024 meeting of the Jefferson City Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Dale Vaughn, and I'm the chair of the commission. I'd like to remind everyone present to please silence phones and other electronics during the meeting. And then, Eric?
Yes, we have some new appointments to the Planning and Zoning Commission. At Monday evening's meeting, the City Council appointed 3 new people to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Mr. Randy Wright, appointed to as a full member. Mr. Tim Daimler, appointed as an alternate member, and also Mr. Bill Farr, who's not here this evening, appointed as a full regular member. We still have 1 vacancy on the Planning and Zoning Commission, an alternate membership that has not been filled. But I wanted to mention that. Also, we have a new council liaison who is a familiar face. So.
And if I'm not here, Trika is my alternate, so we'll fill in for each other, need be.
Yep. And Trika has been appointed as a liaison for the Board of Adjustment, sister organization, sister body. But with that, yeah, good. Proceed with introductions.
So we'll go ahead and have members introduce themselves, starting with the council liaisons.
Randy Hazelton, Council Ward 1.
Tim Daimler.
Tom Wordenhouse.
Randy Wright.
Jenny Quigg, Vice Chair.
Bunny Tricky Cotton.
Sarah Michael.
Hank Vogt.
Courtney Bless, City Planner.
Eric Barron, Planning Manager.
Shane Wade, Public Works Engineering.
Sean McCall, Associate City Attorney.
Clint Smith, Director of Plan Protective Services.
City Code authorizes 9 regular members and 3 alternates. Alternates are designated to vote upon the absence or disqualification of regular members. A quorum of 5 members or alternates is necessary to conduct business. I declare a quorum is present. The following regular members are absent this evening: Shannon Hawk and Jacob Robinette. And everyone here tonight except for William Farr will be going. So William's not here. Sorry, that's another person. Is someone in attendance to present? Oh, sorry.
So to establish the voting body is that everyone, you may have said everyone here can vote. So the alternates are filling the regular members' places. So all members present can vote.
So everyone can vote.
So I have a question. So, which was brought up last month, is Sarah Michael now a regular voting member, or is she still an alternate?
She's an alternate.
Okay, so that's based on?
It takes an action of the City Council to appoint the regular member.
Is someone in attendance to present 2209 Stone Hill Road Final Plan Unit Development Plan Amendment? How about 3450 West Edgewood Drive? Are there any requests for continuance? Are there any requests to reorder the agenda? Courtney, will you please read the format of the hearing?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to briefly describe the proceedings of the meeting are being recorded. Please project your voice when speaking and your name and address for the record. The standard order for each case is as follows. After introduction of the request by city staff, the applicant or their consultant will provide information on the request. Given presentations by the applicant shall be limited to 10 minutes each unless additional time is granted by the commission. The applicant shall have 3 additional minutes for closing testimony if requested. We will then ask to hear from supporters of the request. We will then ask to hear from opponents of the request. We will then ask to hear from anyone else who wishes to speak on the request. Testimony shall be limited to 3 minutes each unless additional time is granted by the commission. City staff will then give their recommendations on the request. In order to reduce the time necessary to hear an application, references to printed materials, including staff reports and applicable findings, shall not be read into the record unless directed by the commission. The commission will close testimony from the floor. The commission will then make their recommendations then public will discuss the proposal, then publicly make its recommendation. The formal motion shall be positive, that is, that the motion shall be made to accept the request as presented or with modifications, stipulations, or conditions. A final vote will be taken for ayes in favor and opposed. The chair shall announce the results of the vote, specifying the number of votes cast in favor and the number of votes cast against. The following documents are under the exhibits for all under consideration at this meeting. The City Code of the City of Jefferson as amended, the comprehensive plan and land use map, copies of applications under consideration, public property owners to whom notices were sent, the affidavit of publication of the public notice to the newspaper, copies of drawings, plans, and memorandums under consideration, letter of memorandum from staff, staff reports, municipal proceedings, correspondence, or other materials from public or applicant, rules of procedure for the Jefferson City Planning and Zoning Commission. These items are public record and available for inspection through the Department of Planning and Technology or through the Office of the City Clerk. Please be advised that any items that are presented, distributed, or otherwise received pertaining to the cases under consideration become the property of the Commission. This includes any photographs, drawings, petitions, and letters. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda as printed?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. I have a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of April 11th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. We did receive communications on the West Edgewood Drive, correct? That was the only communication.
Yes, one item of correspondence on the West Edgewood Drive. It's actually from the property owner, which is the Chamber of Commerce. That was one bit of correspondence.
Okay. Courtney, please present the case.
So the subject property is the property highlighted in blue on the screen. It is zoned PUD planning unit development. And the surrounding properties directly adjacent to it on all sides is also PUD, but then extending outward, there's a bit of single family or low residential, a little bit of multi-family residential to the northwest, and then also that CO, office commercial, located there at the northwest, towards the northwest, away from that property as well. So this is the site aerial of the subject property of this request is highlighted in blue on the screen, and it consists of 0.57 acres, and is for a new clinic building that would be 7,540 square feet. A little bit of history on this particular site is that in 2007 there was a PD plan that was approved for a 6,120 square foot building, which is to the south, that office building there, and then also the subject property itself was also approved for a 56 parking spot lot. What they're wanting to do today is to amend that final PD plan to allow for that clinic building to be placed there instead. And this clinic building would work, it's for a special learning center. The special learning center is using both the property highlighted in blue and then the one directly south, that 905 Weather Rock Road property. That is highlighted in blue for both their purposes, but the PD plan amendment is used for that one highlighted in blue. The building to the south will be modified, but that would be administratively approved, those modifications. However, what you all are reviewing is just that PD plan to place the new clinic building on that property, which is highlighted in blue. And so how this would work with the commission is that you will review that amendment, and then it goes on to the city council for a final decision. Going back to that site plan, looking at that clinic building, and couple of site elements to go over is that the landscaping, the existing part of the landscaping does meet the zoning code requirements. The lighting would also have to meet the city code requirements with respect to the CO office commercial zoning district. And then the parking that they're proposing, they're proposing 108 parking spaces, and this is based off of it's determined by the mixture of uses, since they're going to be the school building. Well, it will be converted to a school building for that property that's south of that. So I'll refer to the one that's for the final PD plan is the one that's 2209 Stone Rail. So I'll refer to that as north parcel for reference. And then the one directly south is 905 Weather Rock. I'll refer to that as the south parcel. So the clinic building, the parking will work jointly. These operations will work jointly, but for consideration of the parking determination, they're considering both the school and the clinic for that calculation. So they came up with 108 parking spaces, and that does meet the zoning code requirements for. It does adequately accommodate both those uses. And as far as sidewalk goes, to fulfill that sidewalk construction requirement, they previously have constructed sidewalk, and I'll go back again to the site. The Weather Rock Road label is covering up where they constructed sidewalk, or sidewalk was constructed, on that 905 Weather Rock, that southern parcel. So there is some sidewalk that was constructed along Weather Rock Road, and then also on the opposite side, the west side of Stonehill Road, to meet that sidewalk construction requirement. So going back to the site plan, there is signage that is proposed for be located.
There's no signage on the new lots.
No, the signage is for it's going to be located on the 905 parcel on the intersection of where Stonehill meets Weather Rock Road, so on the southwest corner of that southern parcel, 905 Weather Rock Road. And as far as the traffic analysis goes, it is anticipated that this clinic building will generate 10 peak hour trips based off of the ITE or institution manual, and therefore it does not require a traffic analysis study to be conducted. And then, of course, the utilities that are noted there would have to conform to all city code requirements. As far as the building design goes, well, first, the allowed uses. So, of course, they are proposing for this particular PD plan to be for that clinic building, and then the underlying zoning district of CO office commercial would be applied for determination of future permitted uses, as well as for standards for things such as signage and lighting. And then as far as the building itself goes, it will consist of masonry veneer. The remainder of that exterior will be comprised of pre-finished metal wall panels, and the roof will also be metal. And that is some initial details. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Courtney. Do any commissioners have any questions? Do any commissioners have any questions for staff? We will now hear from persons who would like to present this case. Please come forward to the microphone and give your name and address for the record.
Good evening. I'm not sure I have a microphone, do I?
You do.
Oh, is it that little thing?
Yeah.
Hello. I'm Stephanie Johnson. My address is 117 Kingsbury Court, Jefferson City, Missouri, 65109, and I am the Executive Director of the Special Learning Center. Thank you so much for letting us appear before you today. We are very excited at the Special Learning Center as we are wrapping up a $13.5 million capital campaign to bring the Special Learning Center to Weathered Rock Road. Our organization is a long-standing nonprofit in our community that was established in the mid-'80s. In 1991, we constructed a facility that is now located between Thomas Jefferson Middle School and Lawson Elementary School. After 2 expansions of that building, we are landlocked and at maximum capacity. We definitely need additional space. Our current facility is about 15,000 square feet. We were very fortunate to find this location at 905 Weathered Rock Road, which is an existing 31,000 square foot facility, but it does not, though it meets the current needs of Special Learning Center, it does not meet future growth needs of our organization. We purchased that property from Dick Otke and his family, and it came with 2 parking lots. Working with Architects Alliance and CMPS, we've identified a need to add an annex building onto that property, which is what we're proposing today. As mentioned, it will house the occupational, speech, and physical therapy clinic of the Special Learning Center, as well as a small gymnasium and a basement for storage and storm shelter as well. We will walk the children up to the gym, and the main facility is our education facility, the South, as you referred to it. It will have specialized child care for children with special needs, early childhood special education, community rooms, educational therapy rooms, and family support programs. In total, we're very excited about this. Though we do provide early childhood special education, Special Learning Center is not a school. We are not recognized as a school by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. We are what is referred to as an approved private agency, so we are able to provide occupational, physical, and speech therapy, as well as special education services to children with developmental delays and disabilities. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brian McMillan, the engineer on our project.
Hi, Brian McMillan with Central Missouri Professional Services, 2500 East McCarty Street. And not a whole lot to add to that. Stephanie did a really good job presenting the project. I know this is about the fourth PUD plan I've done on this property. The Aki brothers owned it for years as the Verizon, it's known as the Verizon building. And we kept adding on to it, adding parking to it. And of course, this parking lot now, the main one at the top, the north end is where we're going to place this building. So very good description of that. It's kind of tied in there. We kind of build a retaining wall on one side and a walkout basement on one side. So, but I think we can make it work. There was some talk about sidewalks. There really is no good way ADA accessible route from the main building and to this building. And while I'm talking about that, I think it's good to look at this as a campus. 905 Weathered Rock Road is the address for all of this stuff, even though this building has a separate address, but it's all kind of the Special Learning Center campus, I think, is a good way to look at it. But the city sidewalk is really our best route to get from one building to the other, so we've tried to make that as accessible as possible, even though we're kind of on the hill there. So, but yeah, if any questions, I'm happy to answer. But,
any commissioners have any questions?
I'm Steve Hauser, president of the operating board for Special Learning Center. And honestly, they just asked me to come and show support. So if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer those. But as we've been growing the intensive therapy clinic, the one that they want to add, we're already having pediatricians and other therapists that are referring, and we have a waiting list. And so that's why this thing is so critical. We have so many children that we want to serve, and more children. It's also, we found out it's impactful for people that live outside of Jefferson City. There have been a couple of the customers, patients that have moved here, got employed just because we have our services to take care of their children. So it does bring some other revenue to our city as well. So thank you.
Is there anyone present who would like to speak in favor of this request? Is there anyone present who would like to speak in opposition of this request? Is there anyone else who would like to just speak on this request? Okay. Seeing none, we will now close testimony. Courtney.
The staff has reviewed the final PUD plan amendment and has found that the use should be compatible with the surrounding property or the surrounding existing land uses. And staff recommends approval of the final PUD plan amendment and the establishment of the CO, all commercial zoning district, for the purposes of determining future land uses and for items, site elements such as signage and lighting. And then there's a form of motion up there which would recommend approval of that final PUD plan and would establish that it's a recommendation to establish the underlying zoning district of CO as one condition, and then the second condition is to address any technical comments and corrections of staff. This proposal will go on to City Council for addressing on June 3rd and for June 17th. And both of those meetings will be held here at City Council in the City Council chambers at 6 p.m. And then the engineering staff report will follow.
Thank you, Courtney. Go ahead, Chance. Chairman.
As far as the Public Works Engineering review, a new driveway has been proposed to the main facility off of Weathered Rock Road. There is another driveway that will be parking lot facility is proposed to be built. Stormwater will be directed to the creek area. No additional impervious areas being created for the new building and the new parking where the old parking lot is. So no additional treatment would be necessary. The proposed building is served by an existing sewer main on the property. The sidewalk, as Brian McMillan, the consultant, had indicated, is also being proposed from one of the new facility back along the city street on Stonehill Road there to the existing facility. All the fire hydrants, streetlights, and other utilities exist in the area according to city standards. Utility services are being proposed to serve the new building, and the plan as reviewed is in good order, and engineering staff would recommend approval subject to staff comments and recommendations. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
And I'll touch on two things. We said the word sidewalk a lot, so I want to make sure, I'll take the opportunity so one of the reasons we focus a lot on sidewalks and PUD plans is because the requirement to construct sidewalks gets triggered by new development. So if there's a building addition or a new building occurring on a piece of property, and the city has an adopted sidewalk plan, but if that plan shows that there should be sidewalk on that street frontage, that's the trigger. And so that's where we as city staff, inform, developers and property owners that you must construct sidewalk along with your building addition. In this case, though, back at the last PUD plan that Courtney mentioned, when they did a building addition on the southern building, a very large building, I think is a 6,000 square foot addition, it triggered that requirement for sidewalk construction. They met that requirement in a slightly odd way, though. They built sidewalk on their weathered rock frontage, but when they got to Stonehill Road, they looked at the terrain and looked at the terrain on the other side of the road and proposed the sidewalk be constructed on the other side of the road, okay? And so I think that's important to mention and to have reflected in these materials that the reason that sidewalk is there is because of this property, not the neighbors across the road. Okay. Now, with this particular proposal, they are, constructing some sidewalk almost as an internal connection between the two buildings, but along that right-of-way. And so, but that's not being done in order to meet a sidewalk construction requirement. The kind of staff analysis we've laid out is that they fulfilled that requirement on the other side of the street. So, kind of a complex way to do that, but wanted to reinforce how sidewalk construction gets triggered. The second thing is, as you're aware, whenever we review and make recommendations for PUD plans, we often recommend that underlying zoning district, the list of uses that are permitted for this property beyond what the applicant is asking for today. Okay, so back at the last PUD plan, they were looking for an office type use. Okay, and they were approved for that use. But at the time, the underlying zoning district of CO was established so that there could be other uses as long as they fit within that CO zoning district. So again, that larger building, as Courtney mentioned, is a permitted use for this particular use. It falls within that category. If it was not for the new building they were constructing, they wouldn't need to come in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission. And so that's why, Courtney had referenced that really your role here is really focused on that northern building. The other one is being processed administratively by city staff and is in largely good order as we review their construction plans. Again, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Eric. Anybody have any questions for Eric? Okay. Seeing none, we would like, who would like to make a motion?
Move to recommend approval of the final PUD amendment with the following conditions: to establish an underlying zoning district of CO office commercial for the purposes of determining permitted uses and standards for site elements such as signage and lighting, and address technical corrections and comments of staff.
Is there any discussion?
Is there a second?
Second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to the next case. 3450 West Drive. Courtney, would you please present this?
So the subject property is highlighted in blue on the screen, and it is currently zoned for planned unit development. And the current lot it's a vacant lot. And then adjacent zoning to the north is CO office commercial with there being office use. And to the east is PUD planned unit development with there being medical type uses. To the south is RA1 high density residential with there being agricultural use currently there. And then to the west is also PUD planned unit development with there being medical uses as well. This is a site aerial of that subject property, again highlighted in blue, and it consists of approximately 4.5 acres, and it is, well, first I'm going to the zoning history, but so the property was rezoned from RA1 to C4, which is now PUD. It was basically a commercial-oriented PUD district, and this was done in April of 1994. And then the final subdivision plat of the CC West subdivision, section 2, was approved in 2005. And then moving forward, a preliminary PUD plan for lot number 2 and the preliminary PUD plan for lot number 3 was approved in 2005, but the development never occurred. This was for retail-oriented use, but again, the development never occurred there. So what they're requesting today is a preliminary PUD plan for a 52,868 square foot building. This is for a 3-story building for the Missouri Primary Care Association, and it consists of lobby space, office space, and an auditorium. And going into a few of the details on that site plan that they've got is that a buffer yard is not required. As far as landscaping goes, there are 27 trees with additional planting proposed at the site. And then as far as lighting goes, the lighting is proposed to be pole-mounted lighting. And then there will be also existing street lighting along West Edgewood Drive. For parking, based off of, so to come to to determine the amount of parking spaces that they would need, is reflected by the standards of the zoning code, which reads as 1 space per every 300 per gross floor area for offices generally, so that since this is multi-use, they're going to have an auditorium and an office. That's how the office affects that parking calculation. And then 1 space per every 4th person based off the maximum capacity that's reflected in the auditorium use. And so they're proposing 186 parking spaces. And then sidewalk placement is shown or is noted on the PUD plan to occur along both West Edgewood Drive and Harper's Ferry Road. Signage, there is a 4-foot monument sign proposed for it's going to be along West Edgewood Drive. And there's also a 2-foot monument sign proposed or would be near the building's entrance. As far as traffic goes, or the traffic analysis, it is calculated that there would be about 82 total trips generated from these particular uses. And since it does not reach the 100 peak hour trip, and this is based off again that ITE manual, and since it does not reach the 100 peak hour trips, it does not trigger the traffic analysis study to be conducted at this time. And utility services are also noted in the section. This is a visual that was submitted by the applicant, and so we'll bring into, again, the use, as part of the preliminary PUD plan is that new office and auditorium building, and the building design would consist of, again, 3 stories, and for the exterior, it would consist of brick, masonry, wall mounts, and a storefront system. And then as far as the roof goes, they're proposing a semi-intensive green and TPO thermoplastic polyolefin membrane roofing system to be used for that roof of that building. That's another visual that's submitted by the applicant. Those are some initial details of this preliminary PD plan. We're using, well, also, so again, for that office and auditorium building, and then an additional note is, for this one, there would be the establishment of an underlying zoning district. Recommended would be the C2 general commercial zoning district for purposes of determining future permitted uses and standards for things such as signage and lighting. Those are some initial details on this particular request. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Courtney. Do any commissioners have any questions for Courtney? Do any commissioners have any questions for staff? Okay. We will now hear from persons who would like to present the case. Please come forward to the microphone and give your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Glenn Strump. I'm an engineer at Central Missouri Professional Services at 2500 East McCarty Street. We are requesting the approval of the preliminary PUD of a proposed office auditorium for MPCA labeled as the Center of Excellence. The Center of Excellence would be a 3-story, 50,000 square foot office, training, and conference facility. The facility will house the shared offices of the Missouri Primary Care Association, otherwise known as MPCA, on the 3rd floor, and also the Missouri Coalition for Community Behavioral Healthcare will be housed on the 2nd floor. Each office suite includes a reception area, private and open office space, a collective kitchen area, and storage. The facility's 1st floor is dedicated to supporting the training missions of each organization. Flexible multi-purpose conference and training rooms flank a 150-foot seat tiered auditorium. A public reception area and additional small lounges provide pre-function and breakout areas for the conference and meeting rooms. Food service, hospitality, and storage facilities are provided to support all meeting functions. Also, sustainability measures are being incorporated into the design, as they are important when considering the mission of the two organizations and their mission for physical and mental health. Sustainable design elements include landscaping with native planting, using pervious pavement in select areas to aid in stormwater, and also solar panels being considered on the building and possibly in the parking lot. In addition, the Chamber of Commerce has given their full support of the project. At this point, I'd like to introduce Joe Perry. He's the CEO. Either one of us could answer any questions you have, any? Thanks.
Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this request? Is there anyone present who would like to speak in opposition of this request? Is there anyone else who would like to speak just on the request? Speak on this request. Seeing none, we will now close testimony. Courtney with staff.
Staff reviewed this preliminary PD plan and the proposed use office and auditorium space. We can be compatible with the commercial and office uses in the area. This development will need to continue to meet the standards of the zoning code and the city code standards. And this includes an final plan review and approval. And then staff recommends approval of the preliminary plan and establishment of the C2 general commercial zoning district for purposes of determination of permitted uses and standards for site elements such as signage and lighting. So there's a single form of motion which would recommend approval of the preliminary PD plan for this new building with the following condition of establishing the C2 general commercial zoning district as the underlying zoning district. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Courtney.
Sorry. Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, Shane.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As far as the engineering review for the site plan, there is a new driveway that's proposed onto Harper's Ferry. That's a full access drive to allow for traffic to come and go from the site. Stormwater will be directed to the drainage system along West Edgewood Drive. Also, stormwater quality treatment will be needed for the property. As Mr. Strumpf had indicated, there are pervious parking pervious paver parking spaces that are proposed, and then a bioretention area is indicated within the parking area. Floodplain does exist in and along the property. Permitting would be necessary during a final plan submittal for that. The proposed building is to be served by a sewer that's on site. Sidewalk, I believe, that has been also indicated is going to be proposed along West Edgewood Drive and along Harper's Ferry. Streetlights, fire hydrants, water lines, and underall utilities are installed in accordance with the mains are all installed in accordance with city standards in the area. The utility services will then be shown to be proposed to the new building. It appears that everything else in regard to the review is in good order for the plan, and engineering would recommend approval subject to staff comments and recommendations. Be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman. I noticed on the parcel here, there is a telecommunications hut. So has engineering or anybody reached out to, I'm assuming it's Brightspeed's property at this time?
I believe so. I think that would be, don't know if that has occurred yet or not, but I know that that would be important as far as our utility review goes. So for the final plan, that would certainly be something to make sure that they've got a separate driveway. This is their.
I find this unusual that this is not on a separate parcel. Generally speaking, all plant and centrally assessed property such as that should be on a separate parcel by the assessor. So if you look at a Ameren substation, it's going to be on a separate parcel or state assessed.
Right. We want to make sure that there's either adequate easement in place or that there's adequate use for the property. I have to probably defer to the consultant in regard to if there's been any specific discussions with Brightspeed at this point.
There hasn't, but there is an easement already on it that was established way back when they developed the Edgewood.
Do you want to come forward? All right.
There's an easement already established there, and it is the property of the chamber at this point yet, but that was established 20 years ago, I think, last I remember, but we really haven't reached out to them yet, just because it doesn't seem like to be critical, as long as we don't infringe on their easement. So.
Just the parcel, like I said,
It's not very common. Yeah, normally it's a separate, they own the property typically, so.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
The only question I have too is the pervious pavers.
Mm-hmm.
That's for the water retention. Instead of having like a holding pond, they do the.
Well, we're doing both. So there's a detention basin there in the middle, and then the pervious pavers, it's the same difference. It's kind of a water quality too.
Right.
So it contains both of it, and like I said, they're very self-conscious about the environment and stuff, so that's why they're leaning that way.
Does that reduce your size of the holding? Because I know like sometimes
Yes.
can limit the property.
Yeah, it would definitely hold the detention basin, because that's basically detention basin
slows down the water. And that
slows down the water, and it's got relief for huge floods.
Right.
But since we do have the existing storm basin on the south side there, it's pretty pretty nice. So anything overflow goes right to it. So.
I promise you this thing is on silent. I don't know why it keeps ringing. Anyway, sorry. Okay, well, I appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions?
Somebody else?
Well, I was just going to offer Brian McMillan, Central Missouri Professional Services. I've worked on these properties since they were first platted. That Sprint building is not an occupied building. It's not like an office building or anything like that. It's almost like a manhole that's above ground that has some equipment in it. So I think it's more just like a utility manhole. It's essentially, a utility box or something. It's just a big one.
For all the wires to come.
Yeah.
That's what it is, yeah.
So, but yeah, it's had an easement and it's been there for years, so.
Thanks. Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you. Okay, do any commissioners have any questions for the staff? Seeing none, would someone like to make a motion?
I'd like a motion to recommend approval for the preliminary PUD plan. Following condition, establish an underlying zoning district of C2, general commercial for purposes such as determination of future permitted uses, and standards for signage and lighting.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Courtney, sorry, I guess we'll be turning it over to Eric for new business.
Yeah, and she may have mentioned, yeah, this will proceed to City Council, shown on the screen, with a public hearing on June 17th, 6 p.m. in the room. Yeah, other business. So staff updates from prior cases. First, the 10-unit apartment building on Trade Center Parkway, proposed by Shrimp, as was approved at the city council level. The public hearing had been delayed by one meeting, but that is approved. The other two cases, well, three cases sitting at the city council were first read last Monday. That was for the 40-unit apartment complex just across the street from that 10-unit one on Trade Center Parkway. The Stronghold Landing PUD plan was scheduled for a public hearing at the City Council's next meeting. And then the rodeo use on Boonville Road, again scheduled for the next meeting. And the subdivision plat, the Ridgecrest subdivision section 5. Again, scheduled up for the next meeting. So all that would take place on May 20th, 6 p.m. in this room. So waiting for those to be acted on by the city council. One other update, I almost mentioned it during the case, there on Edgewood Drive, there's been a lot of activity. It's kind of exciting. The air photos are out of date. The property there just to the west is showing a construction site. And so just off the screen to the right, so to the east, there's major redevelopment proposed on regularly zoned property to convert an office building to a private school. And a lot of activity. And then also, the continued, efforts by the both governments, the city of Jefferson and Cole County for extension of Wildwood Drive, is
still in the process.
Still in process. So,
Is that the old Coles site? Is that where Coles was going to go? Or was that
yes.
further?
And so Courtney touched on that during her presentation. And in case you weren't aware, Coles was originally proposed for that property on West Edgewood. And then just across the street, and so that's where the construction site is shown on that air photo. But then on the property, for this other case, was a grocery store. And so that's some of the history that Courtney included in the staff stuff. And so, that was, 20 years ago or so. A fair amount happening there. Just figured I'd give some commentary, on that. Zoning code amendments. So, especially for new members, I'll touch on this a little bit. At the last meeting, I had given kind of an overview of a couple different planning documents that were recommending some, not necessarily recommending zoning changes, but at least look at them and give them a review, especially in respects to things dealing with housing. Some of those can be, things such as density allowances within the residential districts, but then, also some higher level stuff. And so I'd given kind of an overview of what the two major planning documents that touch on this kind of say. One of those documents is a housing study, and it's available on the departmental website that I showed you in the orientation. And then also the comprehensive plan has some recommendations on housing. And so at the last meeting, I'd referenced that it's our intent to continue talking about this in order to put together, perhaps a package or however the commission kind of feels appropriate to move forward of zoning code amendments, dealing with that subject and looking at these recommendations. It can be a little hard on a month-by-month basis, any kind of staff work we do on it would be competing with, with the cases, with the items of business that would be before you. And so it can be kind of hard to put together a big package of stuff for a meeting. And then also at the last meeting, I'd referenced that we had a number of vacancies coming open on the commission. And so it was really hopeful for some of those vacancies to be filled before going through kind of an education process on the code and what some opportunities might be. So now that we have some positions filled on the commission, and Mr. Chair, so far we don't have any cases filed for next month. There's still some time for a case to come in. But I did touch base with some of our major consultants that submit cases, and there's nothing necessarily on their that they're planning to. And so we very well could have an empty or almost empty agenda at the next meeting. So here is an opportunity to perhaps staff put together an educational package dealing on some of these issues, and then perhaps even specific recommendations on potential code amendments. At the last meeting I'd referenced, we kind of had two choices. We could either try to work them into meetings, or we could have a work session, and still open for discussion on how the commission would like to proceed. Oftentimes we try to do, in the past, we have not had a work session in a long time, but in the past we've often retreated over to the Boone Bancroft room across the lobby in order to have an environment a little more conducive to discussion for a work session type environment. And so that's an opportunity. We could have it in this room where the audio-visual abilities are a little bit more advanced. Our ability to broadcast things live in that room is a little bit lesser. But open to any thoughts.
So, okay, thank you. If we're gonna have I wouldn't mind doing a meeting on zoning text amendment. If somebody else, if we're not gonna have a meeting, we'll go over something. So, anybody opposed anything? What does everybody else feel about that? As far as having it in the next meeting, having a zoning text amendment meeting?
I mean, I'll probably be out of town on vacation. So I would have to do that.
And does this take a certain amount to just have this discussion?
It's an information meeting. It's more
It's not like
informative than it is, we won't be making any decisions.
No, certainly not making any formal decisions. Certainly, directing staff to put something together. That is usually the outcome of something like this. Very informative. Yeah, that's really the giving a fair amount of information. So it does take a fair amount of staff work to put something together for you. But then also,
is it something staff? Is it you feeling the need to do so, or?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we have a couple of different documents that are pointing, in that direction, and we do have some information put together, and so trying to put some of the final touches on that and present it to you. It could be a long meeting. The date of that would be June 13th, Thursday, and which is our regular meeting.
What's the cutoff on meeting application?
Technically, next Monday. And so,
so if you haven't heard from anybody more time,
yeah, technically, sometimes if there's something that you could come in and in good order, we'll still do our best to accommodate that. But
if we were to do that, would we need to make a motion on that? Is that how that would work? Or we just to say that yes, we're open to that?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
I'm open to it if everybody else is.
So
I'm good.
okay. So what we'd probably do is if we do have any cases come in, we'll probably keep the meeting here. We might explore the possibility. I need to check and make sure the room's available and a couple other logistics. But if possible, move it over there into a work session type environment. Would probably be my preference. And so
It will be pizza there, is that right?
I'll have to check the budget, but we do have a food line item. To see how much that is.
For meetings, yes. For meetings, right?
But we can look into that as well.
I mean, if it's gonna be long, I guess that wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah.
Can we get lobster?
Can you get lobster delivered in Jefferson City?
There is a seafood.
Red Lobster still closed.
It's done.
It's done.
It does it on this, out of a trailer.
Yeah, dead lobster.
They do.
Oh, yes.
So yes, you can.
So that's, I think, what we'll work toward, and is trying to put, again, that package of information together and see where the discussion leads after that.
Can I readdress my question I had last month? Has anything come to fruition over the code that I brought to your attention last month? Has anything happened since then?
Search my memory. I'm drawing a blank.
Well,
The Historic Preservation Code Committee work they're doing on revamping the code, so, yeah, I checked.
we already did the work, yeah, which has been on, but nothing's come to.
Yeah, and I checked in with our neighborhood services coordinator on that. I think she's working to bring that forward. I think there is probably one additional meeting that needs to take place with that coordinating committee. Got to
Right.
finalize the language of that. So I think
Okay.
should be looking at setting something that up. I think
She being Rachel Sinzi, or, okay.
so. That you can expect something to come from that, I think, in the near future as far as one final meeting. We did reappoint our council staff liaison for that committee as well, so that he's back in place. So hopefully we can get that going. And I don't think there's a terrible amount of work still left to be done there. I think it's just getting across that finish line. That last step sometimes can be the biggest
It's just, yeah, it's been several.
What was this again, Bunny? I couldn't remember what you mentioned last time.
It's
It's the Historic Preservation Code revision.
the code revision, it's setting up, I think we're working on, I don't know how many months, when did you start?
April of last year.
Because that's when it kind of came to us. So I'm even feeling out of touch, and I was the chair of the committee, so I'm just like to know what's going on to,
I'll touch base with her now.
all right, thank you.
A quick question from Eric.
Yep.
Some time ago, we approved a development on East McCarty Street, right by Daisy Light, right there.
It's a subdivision plat.
Yes. And then you had that surveyed, and they moved dirt, and then it just stopped. I was just curious if what.
I do not have any information on that, on the status of construction.
You said House Daisy Delight?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they're on East McCarty.
It was the apartment complexes.
Yeah, is that?
Yeah, I think it was
Land right there below it. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
No, no, land.
Yeah, one on.
three duplexes that were envisioned for that property. Yeah, and I'd hate to even speculate as to why. Of course, we don't necessarily track that as part of the P&Z case. It was just a subdivision to create those 3 lots, and certainly love to see the construction occur. There's no timeline associated with that approval.
Speaking of that, I didn't know if this was coming up. I saw a lot of lot stakes or surveying done across from Whaley's. Is there anything on
where?
Across Whaley's, kind of corner from Whaley's, that land that was sitting there, we had it come in front of for MHDC maybe? You talking about a big corner lot there?
Yeah.
You know,
Which Whaley's? What location?
Downtown East High.
The original.
Or is it East High?
It's on Hyde. Do you mean the one down at,
Maybe it's down the street, sorry.
it's Lafayette and
It could be McCarty. yeah.
McCarty, toward the old meatloaf.
Oh, okay.
That's a big piece of property, corner piece of property. Sorry, big, doesn't matter. I just thought maybe if it's, I saw a lot of surveying going on, so.
You mean that vacant one across from the pet store?
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
liquor store.
Yes. It is a piece of property that is zoned commercial. And so it is Construction plans have been submitted and permit approved for construction.
So it doesn't come from us. For what?
You can walk a liquor store.
Okay, well, anyway,
Yeah, that's what we need.
okay, anything else?
The new Mel's is open.
Anybody else? Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, it's a pretty building.
That's a huge building, and I went by yesterday on the way somewhere, and it was, parking lot was filled.
They still have trees to install and a couple other. Get them there.
Dot the i's and cross the t's, Eric's on it.
Yes, they do have a temporary certificate of occupancy.
It is a huge building.
Does anybody else have any questions or anything to add? Okay. I'll declare this meeting adjourned.
Thank you all. Hope you have a good evening.
Southwest Boulevard. It worked. I don't know what you.